ओम नमः श्री यतिराजाय विवेकानंद सूरये सच्चित् सुख स्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे. Respected Swamijis present here, respected Matajis, other brahmacharis, respected dignitaries present here, and my very dear young friends coming from 3 states. I'm extremely happy to meet you all, and I'm thankful to revered Swami Maharaj for giving me this opportunity. Abhiramanandji Maharaj, the head of this Ramakrishna Mission Vidyalaya Coimbatore, for giving me this opportunity of meeting you all. This is being done as a part of the 150th birth anniversary celebration of Swami Vivekananda. As you know, this celebration are going on from last 4 years and now they will be, within a year, they all will be concluded. And this is not only in India, in various other countries. The British Parliament has by resolution decided that it will be celebrated in a big way because Swamiji's message is for the whole world, for universal brotherhood. And on 10th and 11th August, we had an international youth conference at Vadodara. The Director General of UNESCO could not come, but the Vice Chairman had come. But the Director General sent her message on video, which was shown, in which she said that even UNESCO is going to celebrate the 150th birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda in a grand manner in many countries. So, Swami Vivekananda is a global leader for a global civilization, because the next civilization has to be a global civilization. There is no other way out, because the communication technology has undergone tremendous transformation and the world has been united as never before, and is a global village, and a global civilization has to emerge, for which we want global leader. And Swami Vivekananda is the global leader who is acceptable to Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Americans, Indians, all people of all countries, of all civilizations, of all religions. And that is why it is very necessary for us to know. All of you know about Swami Vivekananda in a fragmented manner. But Swami Abhiramanandji said that you try to give a comprehensive picture of Swami Vivekananda. Very difficult. Though he lived only for 39 years, it will take 39 years to tell about him. If not 39 months, if not at least 39 hours. But I haven't given him only 1 hour. I will try to do my game, to play my game as efficiently as possible. Within that limited time, I will try to give a comprehensive sketch of Swami Vivekananda. Particularly for the students, it is very necessary, because all of you want success. Do you want success? How many of you want success? Please raise your hand. Okay. What type of success? Long-term success or short-term success? Okay, first equation is, if you want long-term success, you have to work for a long time. And if you want short-term success, you have to work for a short time. Now, please tell me whether you want long-term success or short-term success. Then you have to work for a long time. Okay, how will you get success? Ralph Waldo Emerson says, the secret of success in trade, in war, in every management of human affairs is the concentration of mind. And Swami Vivekananda says, if I had to do my education over again, I will not undergo the present system of education. First, I will learn how to control my mind, how to concentrate my mind, and information I can have at my own will. Information is not a big deal. Just to go to Google search, click, and you get all the information in the world. At that time computer was not there, so Swamiji said, I will go to the library, I can get heavy information. Information, education is not the amount of information that goes into your brain, runs right there, undigested all your life. So education is being and becoming. And then he said, concentration is the most important aspect of education. And if you analyze any great man's life, great person's life, man or woman, you will find this power of concentration. And Swami Vivekananda became so great because of his power of concentration. He had so much of power of concentration, yet he wanted more. How much he had? I'll give a few examples from his life before going to the detailed life of a comprehensive speech, because they are directly related to you. All of you want success. All of you want to get success in examination, success in life, and a long-term success you want, for which concentration is necessary. And Swami Vivekananda can be a role model for you as far as this part is concerned. Swami Vivekananda was sitting in his room. You know, this is a branch center of Ramakrishna Mission. There are 173 branches of Ramakrishna Mutt and missions spread all over the world. The headquarters is Belur Mutt, near Calcutta, Kolkata. If you go to Kolkata, you go to Belur Mutt, near by the side of the Ganges, beautiful ashrama, beautiful mutt. There, on the rear side, you will get a two-storied building. On that first-story building, that oldest building, was on that first floor, Swami Vivekananda used to stay. And that room has been preserved as it is. If even now you go, you feel as if Swamiji is present there. His table, his chair, his clothes, his turban, everything has been kept as it is. Swamiji left his body on 4 July 1902 at the age of 39 years in that very room. Before he left body, he was living in that room. 1 year earlier to that, he was in that room. He was reading a book. The name of the book is Encyclopedia Britannica. Big volumes, so many volumes were spread all over the place. At that time, his disciple, Sharatchand Chakravarti, came. And then seeing all those volumes, he said, Swamiji, it will take whole lifetime to finish all these volumes. Swamiji said, what do you say? Only few days back these volumes have arrived. I have already finished 10 volumes and now I am reading the 11th volume. What? You have finished 10 volumes within such a short time? Impossible. I don't believe. Swami said, you don't believe? Okay. From these first 10 volumes, you ask any question that you want to ask. And the disciple asked so many questions. And Swamiji replied all the questions and correct replies. And sometimes quoting the very language of the book. Then the disciple was very much astonished. He said, Swamiji, this is a miracle. Swamiji said, this is not miracle. This is the power of concentration of mind. If your concentration of mind, you can finish 10 hours study in 1 hour. Many students ask me, Swamiji, how is it possible? 10 hours study in 1 hour. I say it is possible because we are doing 1 hour study in 10 hours. Just take the book in the hand and your eyes in the book and your mind is wandering. What happened? What is happening in TV? What is happening there? So many thoughts are coming. Why? Because concentration is not there. So Swamiji could do so much because of his power of concentration of mind. Then he was asked, what is the secret of this concentration? He said, purity of mind. Purer the mind, the greater is the power of concentration of mind. Is another, and not only that, you will be able to finish your study, you will get success in study, but success in every aspect of life, music, games, sports, every time. Swamiji, when he went to second time in America, at that time he was in Camp Taylor and he was crossing a bridge. At that time the bridge was a wooden bridge. When I went there 3 years back, that time it has already become a concrete bridge. But at that time when Swamiji went, it was a wooden bridge. Swamiji was crossing the bridge. By the side of the river, there are 4 cowboys trying to shoot at the eggshells that were floating in water. But there was a big chain of 12 eggshells, a string of 12 eggshells that were floating in water, and they were shot, so they were going in vain because these eggshells were going up and down. After some time, Swamiji could not help smiling. And these 4 cowboys, they became very much annoyed And they told him, what? You are laughing at us? Is it a small thing to shoot at the axes that are floating in water? Okay, let us see how you do it. And they handed over the gun to Swamiji. Now what to do? Swamiji took up the gun, aimed at the axes, and 12 axes gone in 12 shots. 12 axes gone in 12 shots. Then these cowboys became very much astonished. They said, Swami, how long you are practicing? We are practicing from 5 years. How long you are practicing? Swamiji said, my dear friends, I am holding the gun for the first time. What? For the first time. And you sell all the axes. That is a miracle. Swamiji said, that is not miracle. That is the power of concentration of mind. If your concentration of mind, you can have success in everything. One more incident, when Swamiji had gone to second time to America, he went to Ridgely Manor. Recently I went to Ridgely Manor. Last month I was there in Ridgely Manor. What a beautiful memorial they have made. Where Swamiji stayed for 10 weeks have been converted into memorial. So Swamiji was in that Ridgely Manor. He had gone for recouping his health. Just near the Ridgely Manor there is a mountain, small mountain. On the top of the mountain was a golf course. Even now it is there. I saw recently that golf club is still there. Now Swamiji was the guest of Mr. Francis Leggett, who owned this property of Ridgely Manor. Francis Leggett had a son, 15-year-old. His name was Hollister. So Swamiji, he became friends. He used to become friends of young people. Even now he is the friend of young people. That is why Government of India has declared his birthday, 12 January, as National Youth Day, because he is the inspirer of youth. So when he was alive, he used to become very friendly with youth. So this Hollister became a friend of Swamiji, and Swamiji became friend of Hollister. So Swamiji said, Hollister, let us go for a walk. So they went to the upstairs, mountain top. There Swamiji for the first time saw the golf course. Then he asked, what is this? Then the Hollister said, this is the game called golf. This is the golf club. You take a stick and put the shots, 4 or 5 shots. If you go on like this, and finally when the ball goes into the hole, you win the game. And if I can give the ball directly into the hole in the very first stroke, Hollister smiled and said, laughed and said, Swamiji, that is impossible. One stroke, it can never happen. It requires lot of strokes, then finally it will go to the hole. And if I couldn't do that, what will you give me? And then Hollister said, I have got only $50. I will give you $50. His father was nearby, Francis Leggett. He said, what is the matter? Hollister said, Swamiji said, in one stroke, he will get the ball into the hole. Then said, what are you talking about? You don't know about this golf. You have never seen the golf. And you are talking like this. It is impossible. Okay, I bet you, I'll give you $10 if you can do that. And Swamiji did the stick. And one stroke, and the ball was on the hole, final hole. Francis Leggett and Hollister both were amazed. Then Francis Leggett asked, Swami, have you got some miracle power? Said, no, I don't have miracle power. Then how could you do it? Then Swami said, it is simple mathematics. I know mathematics. I calculated mathematically the distance between where I am standing and the hole. And I also calculated the power of my muscles. And depending on the distance that it has to travel, I told my muscles to give that much power to the stroke so that it goes into the hole. And second, I told my mind, if we can put this ball into that hole, you will be reached by $10. And that was it. So, if you want success in games, sports, studies, the secret is concentration of mind. And Swami Vivekananda is the role model of that concentration of mind. He achieved in such a short time so many things, only 9 years of active life, because of his power of concentration of mind. Now let us look Because now you are interested to know about Swami Vivekananda. How many of you are interested to know about the comprehensive life of Swami Vivekananda? Okay, very good. If you know about the comprehensive life of Swami Vivekananda, that Swami Vivekananda's spirit will enter into you, and that concentration techniques also will enter into you. And the more you read the books of Swami Vivekananda, the more the message filters into you, the more you meditate on the face, on the photograph of Swami Vivekananda, the more you meditate on the life of Swami Vivekananda, on the teachings of Swami Vivekananda, the more you will advance towards success, long-term success. Not only success in examination, but success in your life. So I will just try to give a comprehensive sketch of the whole life of Swami Vivekananda. As you know, Swami Vivekananda's birthday has been declared as the National Youth Day by the government of India since 1985, which was the International Youth Year, because the government of India says the ideas that Swami Vivekananda preached and he lived for are very, very relevant for the modern youth, and his life and teachings are very inspiring for the modern youth, and that is why his birthday should be celebrated as the National Youth Day. During the International Youth Year in 1985, this was decided. Since that time, every year, many places all over India, Swami Vivekananda's birthday is celebrated as National Youth Day on 12th January. Why? Because on 12th January 1863, he was born in Kolkata. His father's name was Vishwanath Datta. He was the Attorney General in Calcutta High Court, and his mother's name was Bhuvaneshwari Devi. And Bhuvaneshwari Devi had no son, and so she used to pray frequently, earnestly, intensely to Lord Shiva. Not only that, she told one of her relatives in Benares to make special offering to Lord Vireshwar in Benares. If you go to Benares, of course you will see the Vishwanath temple, but by the side of the Ganges, if you go further, even now there is a temple dedicated to Lord Vireshwara. So a special offering was done to Lord Vireshwara, and one day Bhuvaneshwari Devi had a dream in which Shiva told her that he will incarnate as her son. And after a few days, she got this son. That is why he was given the name Bireshwar. From Bireshwar it became Bileshwar. From Bileshwar it became Bile. And so the childhood name of Swami Vivekananda was Bile. And Bile was very, very smart and also uncontrollable. 2 maid servants full time were required to control him. He was so overactive, so extra active, but he had a lot of energy. But he used to play a lot of games. When he grew into a youth, Narendra, he used to play a lot of games, wrestling, boating, swimming. He used to go to gymnastics, and he had muscles of iron and nerves of steel, which he said he himself had as a young boy, Naren. When he was admitted in the school, his name became Narendranath Datta. So, but his favorite game was meditation. Once a small child, Bile, when he was meditating with the other children, a cobra came, all the children fled away, but he was so much absorbed in meditation, he could not notice a cobra coming. That gives the indication that how much meditative he was. This meditation was also one of the great secrets behind his success, behind his power of concentration of mind. So, Naren became a very promising young man. He had all-round development of the personality, physical development of personality, mental development of the personality, intellectual development of the personality, and he used to read, apart from his own textbooks. Textbook he will never read. Only 2 days before geometry examination, he just read geometry paper, he read geometry book, and he passed the examination. But whole year he would read lot of books on music. He wrote a book on music when he was a student, and Sangeet Kalpataru in Bengali. And he had a lot of interest in music, in sports, in games, in wrestling, in boating, swimming, so many things. And he also had great interest in reading so many books, particularly in philosophy. So he read the books of Kant, Hegel, John Stuart Mill, Spencer. Even he had a correspondence with Spencer at the time when he was a student. After reading all the philosophies of and the books of these Western philosophers, he became an agnostic. And he said, I don't believe in God. What is the documentary evidence? I am the son of a lawyer. I want documentary evidence. And whenever any saint would come to Calcutta, he would just ask this question. Okay, you have told many things about God. Now you answer one question. Have you seen God? Nobody could give satisfactory reply. And he became very much disappointed. But he wanted to know the truth. He wanted to know God. He wanted to realize God. But nobody could give a satisfactory answer. He was a member of Brahmo Samaj, a reformatory movement. And the founder of Brahmo Samaj was Maharshi Devendranath Tagore, who was the father of poet Rabindranath Tagore. He used to stay in a boat, in a cabin. He used to meditate a lot of time on God. So he heard about it. So one day he went to the boat and he entered the cabin of Maharshi Devendranath Tagore. And when his meditation was over, he asked this question, Sir, I want to ask one question. Maharshi Devendranath said, okay, please ask me. Then Narendranath Dutt asked, Sir, you are meditating too much on God, I heard. Have you seen God? For some time, Devendranath looked at Narendranath's eyes and they said, my dear boy, your eyes are beautiful, those of a yogi. Narendranath became very much disappointed. I am asking, have you seen God? He is telling your eyes are beautiful. I don't want appreciation of my eyes. I want my reply. He couldn't get. He was dissatisfied. One day, he had gone to his college. The name of his college was Scottish Church College, General Assembly College. Later on became the Scottish Church College. Even now, the Scottish Church College is there. If you go to Calcutta, you go to the place where Swami Vivekananda was born, that ancestral house. Now it has been converted into a beautiful memorial. Just opposite that memorial, our Swami Vivekananda ancestral house, you will get Scottish Church College. Even still it is there. So Swami Vivekananda was studying in Scottish Church College. One day, the professor who used to teach English literature was absent. Nowadays, when a professor is absent, what happens? Oh, students have got a nice leave. Oh, today professor has not come. Let us enjoy holiday. But during those times, it was not there. The English professor was not there. So the principal, Professor William Hastie, himself came to take the class on English literature. And he was teaching them the poem, The Excursion by Wordsworth. And in that poem, the poet describes, after seeing the beauty of the nature and the natural scenery, he goes into a trance, into a superconscious state. And the students ask, Sir, is it possible that someone can go to a trance, can go to a superconscious mind, go to a superconscious state? Then Professor William Hastie said, yes, it is possible. I know one person who frequently enters into that state. If you want, you also can see that person who enters into that state of samadhi, the superconscious state, because that person lives in Calcutta only. There is the temple of Dakshineshwar. In that Dakshineshwar temple, that person lives. The name of that person is Sri Ramakrishna Paramhansa. And then Narendranath said, okay, let me also test this saint also. So he went to Dakshineshwar and he entered the room of Sri Ramakrishna Paramhans. He saw Sri Ramakrishna was sitting on his small cot. He was talking to the devotees. Devotees were sitting on the floor. He also sat down in the one corner of the room and just started listening. And Sri Ramakrishna was talking about God. After some time, Narendranath said, now enough of your talks about God. Now reply my question. Have you seen God? And for the first time, he got a satisfactory reply. Sri Ramakrishna said, yes, my dear boy, I have seen God. But he said, I am seeing him more intensely and directly than I am seeing you. And not only that, he said, if you want, you also can see him. But you have to undergo spiritual practices. This is nothing but science of religion. Science says H2 plus O2 is equal to H2O. Huh? Hydrogen is a gas, oxygen is a gas. How can it get water? Well, it's not a question of believing or not believing. Come to the laboratory, have a hydrolytic process, and if you don't get hydrogen, oxygen out of water, then you say hydrogen, oxygen, the two gases cannot give water. Similarly, Sri Ramakrishna replies, yes, I have seen God. You also can see him, but you have to come to the laboratory of spiritual practices. And Narendranath accepted the challenge. He also underwent spiritual practices, and for the first time he had a wonderful experience of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, direct realization of God, when he was in Kashipur. Kashipur garden, he was there at that time because in the meanwhile, after a few years, it is in 1882 that Sri Ramakrishna met Swami Vivekananda, or Narendranath met Sri Ramakrishna. After 3 years, Sri Ramakrishna got cancer in the throat and he was shifted to Kashipur garden house. At that time, and Narendranath got that Nirvikal Samadhi experience at Kashipur garden house. On 16th August 1886, Sri Ramakrishna entered into Mahasamadhi. After a few days, Kashipur garden house was taken on rent, had to be given back. So they found out another house. Swami Vivekananda, Narendranath Dutt, along with his brother disciples, they took sannyasa, took monastic vows, because Sri Ramakrishna had said, you have to work for the world and you have to take up the life of a monastic life, and the whole world is your family, not only your family is your family. These teachings were ingrained in the mind of Narendranath. So he took up sannyas along with his brother disciples, and they rented a house. It was haunted house. That was at Baranagar Mutt, a very dilapidated house. It was haunted house, and they were said they were a ghost. Narendranath, Swami Vivekananda said, what? We are also ghost, we don't mind residing in that house of ghost, because we are also ghost of Shiva. So they started, because only 11 rupees monthly rent. For Baranagar there was some time, and that mutt was shifted to Alam Bazar, then it was shifted to Nilambar Babu. Ultimately, that mutt was shifted to Belur Mutt, which is now there. That was only on 9th of December 1898 that Swami Vivekananda started Belur Mutt. At that time it was installed. In the meanwhile, lot of things happened. Swami Vivekananda and his brother disciple had gone to Antpur, and on 24th December 1886, unknowingly they talked about Christ, not knowing that this was a Christmas Eve, and they lit a fire, and by the side of the fire they took up the vows that we will not go back to our houses and we will lead the monastic life as per the teachings of our Guru Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa. That was sort of a brotherhood was formed, and you can say Ramakrishna Sangha was formed from that time. Ramakrishna order came into that light from 1886 itself, though formal Ramakrishna mission was started in a formal manner by Swami Vivekananda on 31st May 1897 after returning from the Western countries. But when he was there, 1886, 24th December, they took up the vows. At that time it was in Baranagar Mutt, and then they started going all over the country. So Swami Vivekananda took up the vow that he will go without any money. He will go wander. If somebody gives money, so somebody gives the ticket, it's okay, but he will not touch money. And he started for going to pilgrimage for all over the country, took the blessings of Holy Mother Sharda Devi in July 1890, and then first went to Benares, then to Himalayas, and then UP, then went to Almora, and from there he came to Mount Abu. At Mount Abu, before Mount Abu, he came to Alwar in Rajasthan. In Alwar, a very significant incident took place. Alwar Maharaja Mangal Singh Ji welcomed him in the court and said, Swamiji, I don't believe in image worship. Will anything wrong will happen to me? Swamiji said, well, it is your faith. If you want to believe in formless God, you believe in formless God. If you believe in God with form, that is okay. But you are not believing in God with form? No, I don't have any belief. Oh, that is all superstition. Then Swami Vivekananda told Diwanji, the Prime Minister, Diwanji, whose photograph it is? Oh, that is the photograph of Maharaja Mangal Singh Ji, Maharaja of Alwar, Mangal Singh Ji. Bring down that photograph. That photograph was brought, and Swami Vivekananda had the guts, courage to say, the Prime Minister, now spit on it. All the courtiers, all the people very, very much afraid. My God, Mangal Singh Ji will take out the sword and cut his head. This fellow doesn't know what he's talking. Again he said, spit on it. Then Prime Minister Diwanji said, what? Swamiji, you are talking like this? You are telling us to spit on the photograph of Maharaja? Well, I am not telling you to spit on Maharaja. Maharaja is sitting here. I am not telling you to spit on Maharaja. I am telling you to spit on this paper. It is nothing but a paper. Why don't you spit on it? No, I can't spit on it. Then Swami Vivekananda said, you see Maharaja, in one sense you are here, in one sense you are not there. You are here, but you are not in the picture. And yet, because it is your picture, though it is nothing but paper, but Diwanji and all other people are seeing reflection, your reflection in that paper, and that is why they feel by spitting on that photograph, they will be insulting you. Similarly, when the devotees, they worship God in the stone, they don't say, oh stone, we worship you. They say, oh God, please give us devotion. They are not worshipping the stones and wood, but they are worshipping God in wood and in timber. Then Mangal Singh Ji said, Swamiji, you opened my eyes. I will never now laugh on the people who worship God with form. This way Swamiji was going all over the country, meeting the Maharajas, meeting the kings, meeting the sweepers, living with kings, living with all, and having a first-hand knowledge about the Indian spiritual culture, about the Indian condition of that time. Everywhere he was going. And then Mount Abu, he came in the month of May. He met Maharaja Khetri Ajit Singh Ji, who became his follower, who became his disciple, took Mantra Diksha from him, and then he went to Khetri. He stayed there for Khetri for a few months, and then at Khetri also so many things happened. I don't have the time to go about it, but one incident again about concentration. One day Swamiji was sleeping, just reclining, and was reading books. It was afternoon, and the King Ajit Singh Ji was a disciple, so he was at his feet, and he saw Swamiji taking one book, putting another book, again taking after 5 minutes another book, turning the pages, again putting another book. It happened like this for half an hour. Then Ajit Singh Ji asked Swamiji, when will you start reading the books? Then Swamiji said, on your eyes, I have read so many books, you see. I have already finished so many books. What? I am seeing with my own eyes. You are only turning the pages and you are saying you have read all the books. Then Swamiji said, okay, you don't believe? You ask questions. And Maharaja Ajit Singh asked many questions. Swamiji replied all the questions. Then Maharaja said, Swamiji, this is miracle. Swamiji said, this is not miracle. That is the power of concentration of mind. So Swamiji could see. He said, so Maharaja, you are reading sentence by sentence. I read page by page. You know, Xerox copy. He had got a photographic memory. So he goes through pages and he tells, when a child grows, he first say A, B, C letters. Then he goes for words, cat, rat, mat. Then he goes for the sentence. And similarly, the further this concentration is increased, you can read page by page. Swamiji used to read page by page, not sentence by sentence. And that is why he became great. That is because of his power of concentration of mind. And so these are the things that happened. And Swamiji was asked was this question by Ajit Singh Ji, Swamiji, what is life? Swamiji immediately replied, my dear prince, life is nothing but the struggle of a being under the circumstances trying to press it down. So life, there will be problem. You know, in the first session, Swami Atmapriyanji was asking, don't become depressed. Problems will come. Life means problem. But if you face it boldly, you become better and better and greater and greater. And if you do not face boldly, then you go down, go down, go down. So face the problem boldly. An incident like that happened when Swamiji was in Benares. He had the darshan of Durga Mata temple, and when he was coming out of the temple, suddenly a few monkeys started chasing Swamiji. Now what to do? So Swamiji was all alone, so he started running, and the monkeys started running after him. big monkeys with black faces. Now one side there was a tank, another side was a big wall. What to do? So Swamiji was running. After some time he became exhausted. Now what to do? Suddenly he listened to one voice. An elderly monk shouted at him, "Hey, डरो मत, बंदर का सामना करो. Don't be afraid. Face the brutes, face the monkeys." As soon as Swamiji heard it, he stopped. He looked back and he had a stick. He did like this and all the monkeys fled away. And then Swamiji afterwards gave his lecture in New York. He said, that day I learnt one of the greatest lessons of my life. What is that? Face the brutes, face the animals, face the monkeys, face the difficulties. If you face the difficulties, then difficulties will run away. But if you become afraid, difficulties will overpower you. That is the message Swami Vivekananda received at Benares. Likewise, he was having many experiences. Then he came to Gujarat. Gujarat he stayed for the maximum time. In September 1891 he entered and he became friendly with many Maharajas. First he went to Ahmedabad. From Ahmedabad he went to Limdi. Limdi his life was saved. I don't have the time to tell you the incident. Very different type of incident that happened, because of which his life was in danger. But Maharaja Yashwant Singh Ji of Limdi saved his life. Then Limdi Maharaja became his disciple. From there he went to Bhavnagar. Bhavnagar Maharaja also became his follower. From there he went to Junagadh. Junagadh Diwan Haridas Vihar Desai became so much friendly to him that Swami Vivekananda later on wrote 13 very, very important letters to him from America and from other parts of the country. So that is Haridas Vihar Desai. From Junagadh, Swamiji went to Dwarka, Somnath, then he went to Porbandar. Porbandar he stayed as the guest of the then Diwan, then administrator, Shankar Pandurang Pandit. He was a great Pandit who knew many languages. So Shankar Pandurang Pandit said, Swamiji, you got such a rich knowledge of English and also on scriptures. You ought to go to the West and you will conquer the whole Western countries by your knowledge. At that time, Shankar Pandurang Pandit was translating Atharvaveda. So he took the help of Swami Vivekananda in translating Atharvaveda from Sanskrit to English. Not only that, he said, Swamiji, when you go to the West, you will need to know French. So I'll teach you French. And Swamiji learned French there in Porbandar. He stayed there for more than 4 months with Shankar Pandurang Pandit. And he wrote a letter to his brother disciples in French language. His brother disciples were very much amazed. In French, whose letter it is? Later on they showed, then they could understand it is from their Guru Bhai Naren Nath. Later on they discovered. But Swamiji wrote a letter in French from Porbandar. Likewise, he stayed in Gujarat for a few months. And 26 April 1892, he left Baroda. I am coming from Baroda. In Baroda, the same bungalow where Swami Vivekananda stayed as the guest of the then Diwan Manibhai Jashbai, in April 1892 was handed over by the government of Gujarat to Ramakrishna Mission for converting it to a befitting memorial of Swami Vivekananda on 18th April 2005. Since that time, I am there in Baroda. Before that, I was in Porbandar, same Bhojeshwar bungalow where Swamiji stayed as the guest of the then administrator Shankar Pandurang Pandit. Same bungalow was given by the government of Gujarat to Ramakrishna Mission for converting to befitting memorial of Swami Vivekananda on 12 January 1997. So I was there for 8 years. Again I came to Baroda. Also here I am in Baroda in the same memorial house where Swamiji stayed. And 26 April 1892, Swamiji went to Bombay, then to Mahabaleshwar, and then to further south, Belgaum. He stayed for 1 week in the forest guest house, which has been converted to memorial once again, the Belgaum house where Swamiji stayed. And then he further went south, went to Hyderabad, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Chennai, and then further he went to Trivandrum and finally to Kanyakumari. Kanyakumari, he prostrated before in the temple before the Mother Kanyakumari. He came to the shore where all the three oceans meet. He came to that corner. He saw a rock a little distance away. He had no money to pay to the boatman. But he was from Bengal. He knew good swimming. So without caring for the big fishes, shark, he just jumped in and swam across and went to the rock, meditated for 3 days and 3 nights, 24th, 25th, and 26th December 1892. And what did he meditate? He did not meditate on any god or goddess. He meditated on Mother India. He meditated on the great glorious past of India. Just now we heard what a great cultural heritage of India we had. Swamiji meditated on that great cultural heritage, spiritual heritage of India, the great glorious past when Swamiji, when India was on the top of the world on all fronts, economic front, spiritual field, architecture, sculpture, arts, music, in every field, science, algebra, geometry, mathematics, all. In fact, India has given, some people say, what India has given? India has given 0. Einstein told it is because of the 0 that we are surviving. All your computers, you remove 0, what remains? 0. The whole computers are working on 0 system, decimal system. It is the Indians. Einstein says we must give credit to Indian scientists for discovering 0. Without that 0, we would be 0, all the scientists. So, Swami Vivekananda meditated on that glorious past of India. He also meditated on the India that he had seen with his own eyes, poverty, priestcraft, untouchability, all the evils of the society, the sufferings of the poor people, millions of poor people, and the indifference of the Maharajas and the kings going only for their own pleasures without thinking of the miserable plight of the common masses and the atrocities of the higher caste of people on the lower caste. All these he saw. He meditated on that also, the present at that time of India. And also he meditated the glorious golden India that will emerge and how that will emerge. Then what went wrong? Is it our religion because of which we have been degraded? No. Our religion is great. Our Vedanta is great. Then what happened? When we stop applying the principles of Vedanta to our everyday life, at that time the degeneration started. And afterwards he said, we committed 2 crimes, 2 sins we have committed. And because of it, degradation came. What are the 2 sins? Number 1, neglect of the masses, general masses, lower class of masses, the poor and the lower caste. And second, atrocities on women. Neglect of the masses, atrocities of women. These are the 2 great sins, national sins we have committed, because of which we had to undergo hundreds of years of slavery. And so Swamiji said, once again, these principles of Vedanta must be applied in everyday life. Again, India will grow. But then he remembered the words of his master Sri Ramakrishna, who said, Khali pete dharma hoy na. No religion with empty stomach. So he decided, okay, I will cross the ocean. I will go to Western countries. They have got science and technology. I will bring science and technology, but I will not go as a beggar. We have something else to give. I will give the nectar of Vedanta there. In exchange, I will bring science and technology and removing the poverty of the people. And afterwards, we will give them the principles of Vedanta. Once again, India will come up. And he foretold, India will become so great that its past glory will fade into insignificance. That is how he meditated on that rock of Kanyakumari, how India can become great. He found out a plan how to do it. He said, I'll go to the West. And then he told his disciples in Madras, he wants to go to attend not only Parliament religions, that was one reason. Another reason was to bring money, science and technology, to remove the sufferings of people. These are the 2 objectives for which Swamiji went west, not only for participating in the World Parliament Religions Chicago. And then the Madrasi disciples collected some money which was not sufficient, and Swamiji thought whether I am going by my own desire or by the divine plan, I do not know. So he told them that you distribute from this money, purchase some sweets and distribute among these children of the fishermen. He waited, and then finally he got a letter from Sharda Devi. Yes, my dear boy, you must go. And Sharda Devi had a vision, and Swami Vivekananda himself had a vision. Sri Ramakrishna was going over the ocean, telling Naren to come. Then he could understand, I am not going to the West because of my own desire. I am going to the West because of the divine plan, because of the order of the God, and God will help me everywhere. With this conviction, he went to America. On 31st May 1893, he left Bombay by a steamer, went to Japan. From Japan, he took another steamer to Vancouver. In that ship, he was with Jamsetji Tata. And Jamsetji Tata, he had a lot of discussion. Just now you heard in the first session how Jamsetji Tata was inspired to start Indian Institute of Science because of the conversation that Swami Vivekananda had with Jamsetji Tata when they were traveling together in the same ship to Vancouver. From Vancouver, Swamiji came to Chicago by train. In the train, he met a lady, and that lady told that whenever you want, you please come to my house in Boston. And then Swamiji thought, okay, I will see later on. But when he went to Chicago, on 25th of July he reached. You know, nowadays you take the plane. I went last month, morning 6 o'clock I start, by 1 o'clock I am in New York. Now it is like that. That time, Swamiji had to go by ship. It took more than 2 months. On 31st May he started, and 25th July he reached Chicago. He went to the Committee of Parliamentary Religions. He was told the days are gone, and then now the days of entrance is also gone, and you don't have credentials. You don't have, and Swamiji did not have any credentials. And then, as you heard in the first session, Swamiji went to Boston, and Boston he accidentally met the professor of Harvard University, Professor John Henry Wright, who told Swamiji to ask credentials from you is like asking the sun as to what right it has to shine on the earth. And then he wrote down in a paper of recommendation to Dr. Barrows, who was the chairman of that Committee of Parliamentary Religions. He wrote, here is a man who is more learned than all our professors put together. All our professors put together. That is what he wrote. And then Swamiji went that letter of introduction. Then he went to Chicago again. But again, in the meanwhile, he had lost that paper. It was with a divine plan that he came in contact with Mrs. Hell. She took him to the Parliament Religions. And on 11th September 1893, Swamiji delivered his historic speech. And he started with Sisters and Brothers of America. And 7,000 people in that Columbus Hall and the Washington Hall, which was nearby, in that art institute, they all rose for a reason they did not know. And they clapped and clapped and clapped. And it was for more than 2 minutes. Swamiji was given 5 minutes for speaking. Half the time went only for clapping. And within that remaining 2.5 minutes, he gave a speech which is considered to be the best speech in the history of the whole world. This speech of 2.5 minutes. Even now, somebody has made a research. What is the speech which is Googled so much, which is being talked about? Even now people, and what did he say in the speech? He only said, though he was going as a representative of Hinduism, he talked about globalization at that time. He said that sectarianism, bigotry, and its descendant fanaticism have long possessed this beautiful earth, have drenched it often and often with blood. But for this, our civilization would have been far greater, humanity would have been far better. But their time has come, and I fervently pray that the bell that tolled this morning in the honor of this convention may be the death knell of all sorts of fanaticism, of all sorts of dogmatism, and all sorts of persecution, whether with the sword or whether with the pen. But we did not listen to his message, so after exactly 108 years, there are another 9/11. In 2001, the twin World Trade Centers were destroyed. Recently I went there. Even now that is ground zero. They have made just sort of some fountain there. That ground zero will remain ground zero, but they are going to have a museum on 9/11. Small museum is there. I have got a pen 9/11. I have purchased from there. There are so many other things. Now a big museum will come up, and there is another big building has come up, but that ground zero will remain the ground zero. Whatever it is, Swami Vivekananda's message that time that he gave about harmony of religions, about world peace, about universal brotherhood is so relevant today. And that is why even now that speech is very much absorbed. And then on 19th of September, he gave his historic speech on Hinduism. And where he said, in Hinduism, we have this sloka, he told the sloka from the Shveta Upanishad, शृण्वन्तु विश्वे अमृतस्य पुत्राः आये धामानि दिव्यानि तस्तुः वेदाहमेतं पुरुषं महान्तं आदित्यवर्णं तमसः परस्तात् तमेव विदित्वा तिमृतमेति नान्य पंथा विदितेनाय. I have found the ancient one who is beyond all miseries. By knowing him alone, you shall be free from all miseries. And then he told all the people sitting in the parliament religions, dear sisters and brothers, let me call you by this great name. What is that? Amritasya Putra. You are the children of immortal bliss. You are not sinners. Vedanta does not recognize sin. It recognizes error. And the greatest error you are making when you are calling yourself a sinner. No, you are not a sinner. What are you? You are the children of immortal bliss. Ye the children of immortal bliss, holy and perfect beings. Ye, divinity and us sinners, it is a sin to call a man so. It is a standing liable on human nature. Come up, O lions, and shake up the delusion that you are sheep. Your souls immortal, spirits free, blessed and eternal. Ye are not matter, ye are not bodies. Matter is a servant, not ye the servant of matter. This is the message of Vedanta that Swamiji gave in the parliament religions, the nectar of Vedanta, and they liked this so much that Swamiji had to continue to stay for 3 more years in America. And of course he went to other European countries also, including UK, and there he found Sister Nivedita, Miss Margaret Noble, who later on became Sister Nivedita. Swamiji stayed there for 3 years, preaching the message of Vedanta, preaching the nectar of, giving the nectar of Vedanta to the people, and also speaking on the 4 yogas, Raj Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Gyan Yoga, Karma Yoga. At present, Americans are very much in distress. They are committing suicide, youths are committing suicide, they are becoming drug addict. Why? Because whatever Swamiji has spoken, they have not yet taken. That is why Eleanor Stark has written a book. The name of the book is The Gift Unopened. And there she says, Columbus discovered the soil of America, but Vivekananda discovered the soul of America. And then she says, Swami Vivekananda gave us the gift to Americans, the gift of 4 yogas, Raj Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Gyan Yoga, Karma Yoga. All this he gave, but that gift box remains unopened. This is the right time to open this gift box. The gift remains unopened. And this is the time during 150th birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda. When I recently went to America, I said, this 150th birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda is the right opportunity. Let us open this gift. All our problems will go away. So many people came to me in distress. They are having problem of drug addiction. They are in distress. Some thinking of committing suicide. All this will go away when the nectar of Vedanta will come. When we realize we are the children of immortal bliss. The message has already been given by Swamiji. The method has been given. The message has been given. But we have yet to take it. Like this, Swamiji stayed there for 3.5 years in America and Western countries. And on 15 January, Swamiji came back to India. And when he came back to India, he was asked this question, Swamiji, now when you have seen the glory of Western materialistic civilization, how do you feel about India? Then Swamiji said, India I loved before, but after seeing all your so-called materialistic glories of the Western countries, now the very dust of India is holy to me, the very land is holy to me, the very air of India is holy to me. It's a holy land of pilgrimage. Just as Guru Raji said, told you, he has traversed many countries. I have also traveled many countries. After seeing all the countries, when I was going for the countries, I can tell you frankly, when I was traveling to other countries for giving the message of Vedanta, I was feeling very happy. I will see this country, this country, this country. I was very happy. But when I was returning by the flight from other country to India, I was much, much more happy. Oh, I am going back to my India. This you will realize. You cannot realize the great, with all that poverty, uncleanness, dirty, this and that, the great joy of a family life, the great cultural values, the spiritual values of family life. You family values, you cannot know what you are missing in India, what you are getting in India, unless until you start missing what is there in the country, what you got in India. You have to miss them in order to appreciate whatever it is. Swamiji came here, and in order to give a practical shape to the teachings of his great master Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa, he started Ramakrishna Mission, and he drafted a constitution. And in 1994, when UNESCO celebrated the centenary of Swami Vivekananda participant in the World Parliament of Religions, the Director General of UNESCO, Federico Mayer, said, I was very much indeed struck by the similarity of the constitution that was written or framed by Swami Vivekananda in 1897 with the constitution drawn up by UNESCO in 1945. Almost the same language. Both are talking about serving the poor irrespective of caste, creed, color, religion, nationality. In fact, Swamiji was a visionary who could visualize the problems of the nation, the problems of the world, and that is why Swami Vivekananda wrote in that Constitution of Ramakrishna Mission that it will be without irrespective of caste, creed, color, religion, nationality. Now, when Swami Vivekananda left his body on 4 July 1902, there were only 5 centers. Now there are 174 branch centers all over the world and 1,000 centers non-affiliated waiting for affiliation. So normally a leader leaves and his organization also gets destroyed. But here is a leader, a global leader for a global civilization who had such great leadership leadership qualities. He did not become the first president of Ramakrishna Math and Mission. He made his brother disciple Swami Brahmananda the first president of Ramakrishna Order, and he himself was above name and fame and publicity, trying to be with his own divine self. And he had come from Saptarshi Mandal. He was preparing for Saptarshi Mandal, going back to that great place. But going back for only a temporary period. But he told, may I be born again and again and suffer thousands of miseries so that I may worship the only God that exists, the only God that I believe in, the sum total of all souls, and above all, my God the wicked, my God the miserable, my God the poor of all races, of all species, is the special object of my worship. And just as now you heard, Swami Vivekananda, after starting Ramakrishna Mission, he went to various parts of the country. The lectures that he delivered, everywhere the whole country was at that time sleeping. Hundreds of years of slavery, and Swamiji gave a clarion call, Uttisthata, Jagrata, Prapyavaran Nibodhata, arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached, and the whole country got awakened. And the youth of that time, they took the message of Swami Vivekananda. First message was making India independent, and those youths of those times, they read the books of Swami Vivekananda. And the lectures from Colombo to Almora, wherever he went, he delivered very powerful speeches in response to the grand welcome that he received. These lectures are in the book, Lectures from Colombo to Almora. Reading these books, Mahatma Gandhi said, the love that I had for my country became 1,000-fold. A student was studying in 9th standard in Cuttack. He read this book and he said, I will sacrifice my whole life for the sake of the nation. Later on, his name became Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. All our great patriots, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, Mahatma Gandhi, Dr. Radhakrishnan, Jawaharlal Nehru, Pandit Jawaharlal Chakravarti Rajgopalachari, Sri Aurobindo, all of them derived their inspiration from the books of Swami Vivekananda, from these lectures. And Swamiji again went in 1900. He made a second visit to the West, and there again he gave that nectar of Vedanta in a much more solidified manner. He came back in 1900 December, back to India. Now he was winding up this whole thing. He had traveled so much, he had given lectures so much. Now he was consolidating on Belur He stayed there for 1 more 2 years, and on 4 July 1902, he gave up his body in meditation. On 4 July 1902, morning 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., he was in the old shrine meditating for 3 hours. In the afternoon, he taught the brahmacharis Sanskrit grammar. Then he went his brother disciple Swami Premanandji for the market. Nobody could know that he will leave his body so early. 2 days before he passed away, he told, when I pass away, you cremate me here. He pointed out a spot near Ganges under a bel tree. That time nobody took it seriously. But when these things happened, his body was cremated at the same spot where he said, now there is the beautiful Swami Vivekananda temple there by the side of the bel tree under which Swamiji had said that. So he could know, he prepared himself. He chose 4th July because he loved America, and 4th July is the Independence Day of America. And he wanted independence from his own body also on that day. So on 4 July 1902, his last words were to his sevak, meditate till I call on you. That was his last word. And he entered into meditation. And on the wings of the meditation, he went to another world. But his immortal words that he gave, he told Eric Hammond in 1896 in London, they are with us. You heard about this in the morning session. Swami Vivekananda had told, it may be that I shall find it good to get outside of this body, to cast it off like a disused garment, but I shall not cease to work. I shall inspire men everywhere until the world shall know that it is one with God. Swamiji is still present in his fine form to inspire us. He is specially present in his books, and that is why the French savant Roma Rolla, the great Nobel Prize winner, says his words are great music, phrases in the style of Beethoven. I cannot touch these sayings of his, scattered as they are through the pages at a 30th distance, without receiving a thrill through my body like an electric shock. When you read the books of Swami Vivekananda, you feel an electric shock. Why? Because Swamiji told, I will be living. He is still living in his books, and that is why you get an electric shock. That is why wherever I meet, so many young people I meet all over the country, outside country, but when so many people are here, very nice people, youngsters who are loving Swami Vivekananda, in the name of Swami Vivekananda, when you have come, both boys and girls, I have to make one request. If you really want to get success, long-term success, if you want to have power of concentration of mind, if you want to have total personality development, if you want to get good marks in the examination, if you want to achieve something in your life, if you want to make your life blessed, if you want to reach the goal, read the books of Swami Vivekananda every day, at least for 15 minutes, if not more. You will say, where is the time? You get time for everything. You get time to watch TV. You get time for internet cheating and chatting. You know, both go together. You are getting time for internet cheating, chatting. You get the time for sending SMS to your friends through mobile. You get time for everything. But for reading the books of Swami Vivekananda, you don't have the time. So I'll give you a very good advice. Very good advice. All of you got mobiles? Most of you have got mobiles. Okay. Don't charge the mobile. What happens? You will not be able to send SMS to your friends. So what you should do at night, put the mobile for charging, put the electric wire connection in the socket. What will happen? Mobile battery will get recharged. Again you can send SMS to your friends. Already we are doing it, I know. You are doing it every night. Now what I want to say, that when you put this mobile battery for recharging, that time take a book in your hand of Swami Vivekananda. By the time the battery of the mobile gets recharged, your mental battery will get recharged. And the blessings of Swami Vivekananda will be on your head. And you will also, Swami Vivekananda says, you will be able to go advance farther and farther. I am again thankful to Swami Abhiramanandji for giving me this opportunity of meeting you all. I pray at the feet of Swami Vivekananda. May he give us strength to find out time for reading the books. May he give us strength to understand his words. May he give us strength to implement at least one sentence of his life, and our life will be blessed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Maharaj, for recharging us with your wonderful thought-provoking lecture on a comprehensive life sketch of Swami Vivekananda. Swamiji says, let us unite our wills in continued prayer for everyone's good. We may die unknown, unpitied, unbewailed, without even accomplishing anything. But not one thought will be lost. It will take effect sooner or later. Maharaj, the thought that you have instilled in the minds of this youth will come to effect sooner or later. Thank you very much, Maharaj. Now I request Swami Anapekshananji Maharaj to present a memo to present a memento to Swami Nikuleshwaranji Maharaj.